Ask Us Anything is back on the Goggler podcast. It is our first Ask Us Anything of 2026. Thank you so much for all of your questions. We're going to kick things off with one from @X-Ray and Drops, who says, to start off the first episode of 2026, let's go with a more personal note. What are your New Year's resolutions, both yours and also Gogglers? Do you do resolutions, Bahi?
I really don't.
Neither do I. I stopped doing resolutions a while ago.
I just want to get through the year. I'm just trying to survive, man.
This is a sure sign of age when
Yeah.
you're just like, I just want to make it through one more year.
I will say there is one that I've been thinking about for a while.
Oh, what's that?
I think we spoke about it, and I think I mentioned it in an earlier podcast, but I want to see if I can give more grace this year. I hate rage content, and I've realized that I've come to become the rage guy at Goggler a lot of times.
Well, wait, hold on. You say that, but I think we've successfully avoided doing rage content at Goggler for 5 years. I think when you're angry, it's justifiable.
Yes.
And
No,
also
yes.
you back it up with facts. You're not just calling people names. And we always do our research before we lose our shit at someone.
Sure. Yes, I agree. It's also this thing of just like people make mistakes. Specifically in talking about film and TV and stuff like that.
Oh, for
right?
sure.
Just like I'm not going to get caught up in stupid continuity errors. I'm not going to get caught up in the shadow of a boom. It doesn't happen as much anymore, but like I think I'm just trying to give more grace in 2026.
I totally agree. I think people make mistakes. Art is subjective. I think one thing we've always strived to do at Goggler is respect the artist's right to fail. I think that's a very important philosophy that we have. Always, in that you're putting yourself out there, you've made this piece of work. It may be good, it may not, but we respect your right to succeed and your right to fail.
But if you do it wholeheartedly, if you do
Correct.
it with the best of intentions, that I think then we can let go.
If you take our taxpayers' money from Finas and go off and buy yourself a Lamborghini and spend only 10% of it making a movie, then fuck you. You do not deserve any grace because that's just straight up corrupt bullshit. And we bring this up as an example because it's been known to happen.
Also, yes.
Yes. I tell you, I think in life, in general, with family, with friends, it's always good to give that grace. The only people that I don't afford this sort of grace to are politicians.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we've kind of voted them in to do one of the most important jobs there is, that you hold the public's trust. And so you need to be righteous. You need to be beyond reproach. There are very few excuses for politicians.
But again, even as politicians, if you try and fail, that's okay.
Correct. If you, however, support the murder of unarmed individuals and then lie about it, then you don't deserve any grace.
No, you deserve the electric chair.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, that's a very good resolution, but I think that's a good one. I have a couple, but I don't think they're resolutions. I think they're things that I want to do in 2026.
Right.
It's like I'm not making a resolution to be like every week I need to go to the gym or I need to eat more spinach and stuff like that. I think I want to brush up on my Japanese.
Okay.
I went for a beginner course a few years ago, but I spend a lot of time in Japan, going for the Tokyo Film Festival. I want to be able to speak more of the language and understand what they say. And I think that's one of the things I want to do in 2026, which is just learn more Japanese. I know I'm not going to be fluent in a year, but I would like to be able to understand a bit more and maybe communicate a bit more.
Yeah. Short sentences.
The other thing which I just did, which I haven't even told you about, is I registered to get a motorcycle license.
Oh, snaps!
Yeah,
You've been talking about this for a while.
I've been talking about it for a while, but I registered
yeah.
online to a driving school, and I just want to learn how to ride a motorcycle because I've always wanted a Vespa, and this is some kind of a weird reverse midlife thing, maybe? I don't know.
I think that is pretty much spot on for midlife crises.
No,
though.
you see, midlife crisis people want like sporty, fast things. A Vespa
No.
is just a kind of old uncle slow thing.
I know of a couple of guys who hit their 40s and got a motorcycle.
Oh,
So,
there you go. All right.
Yeah. So I think
I'm
you're
happy
pretty
to
much spot
conform
on
to the cliche.
Yeah. You're kind of spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Goggler, we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of stuff planned for 2026 that we want to do. And I think the one thing we can let you in on is we launched it last year. We did a soft launch of Powergum, our roving indie cinema idea. And we're definitely going to build on that. So watch this space and hopefully bring movies to the big screen that you may not have had a chance to watch in the past. And that's something that we're really, really trying to pull off. But of course, there are all kinds of different pressures in making something like that happen. Mainly economic ones. But we're working around it. We're trying to figure things out.
Although that's not really a resolution, though, is it?
It's a plan.
It's a plan. Yeah. Future Goggler plans.
Yeah, future Goggler plans. I don't think there are any resolutions per se.
I don't think we have any resolutions. We've got a lot of plans. Okay, you know what? Here is a resolution, I think, for Goggler.
Go on.
To actually do the stuff that we've spoken about doing.
Yes.
For example, Powergum has been in the works for about 3.5 years.
Correct.
We've got a couple of things, couple of merch ideas that we've wanted to do also we've spoken about for about 24, 30 months now, and just haven't had the time, haven't quite sort of cracked the code of how to do it. I think we kind of did in December. So the resolution is to potentially put those things out into the world.
Bring it to life.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can do that.
Our next question is by Sid Takudin, Parvati Nambiar, 25, and a bunch of other people. The question is, Uma, is Mati Supreme coming here to Malaysia?
We get this question almost every day.
Every day on practically every other post or something.
Yes. Even on random posts, someone will comment and be like, when is Mati Supreme coming? And then there will be DMs of people going, is Mati Supreme coming? The answer is we have no idea.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of that has to do with A24 as a distributor seemingly not giving a shit about global releases because from what we heard, even the UK release wasn't confirmed until like super, super close to the release date. And another benchmark is that even Singapore doesn't know when it's getting it. And Singapore is usually a good benchmark because they tend to get these movies even when we don't. And we've reached out to our distributor friends in Singapore from the various studios, and no one knows who has the international distribution rights or when it's actually coming. So, don't know lah. We also want to see it.
So that's kind of the answer that we have.
But on the bright side, GSE International Screens are bringing some very cool Oscar contenders to Malaysia. And last year when we asked, no one was going to bring it in, but they've changed course on that, so that's quite exciting.
I would say if Mati Supreme does well at the Oscars, GSC could potentially look at bringing it in. It's happened in the past, yeah.
I mean, just to build on this, there's a very good reason why these things don't get released day and date in Malaysia. And a lot of it is economic in the sense that these movies cost a lot of money to bring in and it doesn't necessarily have a big enough market to recoup a lot of those costs. And so you're not going to get Hamnet in December when it was released in the UK and the US. Over here, there needs to be some momentum. And that usually ends up being Oscar nominations and some kind of word of mouth or FOMO that people need to grasp onto. When I say people, I mean like the cinemas and the distributors and the people who are spending the money, because that provides them with some justification for spending the money.
It's also worth mentioning that just because you and your 15 to 20 other letterboxed friends are really clamoring for Mati Supreme, it's not really a good enough indicator. for a film like that to come to Malaysia, you really need your parents to be asking the question of if Mati Supreme is coming to Malaysia.
I think with distribution costs and then marketing costs, even for a movie like that, I'm thinking it would probably have to make about 200k ringgit to recoup, to break even.
Potentially, possibly, yeah.
And people don't want to do things just to break even. They actually want to make money. La. So it's quite a high benchmark. Because remember, a movie like Mati Supreme is not going to play outside of KL, Penang, and Johor. Like, it's not going to make that kind of money. It's not going to put bums on seats. So we don't know. But we will let you know. It's a big deal for us too. So as soon as we find out, you will know.
In other news, I know this isn't really the question, but we just got a sort of
Alert.
we just got a mailer from the PR team, the marketing team at Disney Plus Malaysia, and they're releasing Rental Family, I think the third week of February. I think it's the 18th of February. So even if it's not cinema, there are ways to watch these things. So hopefully maybe Mati Supreme might show up somewhere. But yes, I agree. The ideal way to watch these movies would be in the cinema. Yeah, we don't know if Mati Supreme will show up anytime soon.
We have a question from XD underscore dam06. What's usually the process for choosing premier giveaway winners? I think we've talked about this before, but it's worth reiterating because we have new followers on Goggler. It's very simple. As you know, the process for our giveaway hasn't changed in many years. Essentially, we want you to like, share, and comment. And in that comment, we often ask you a question, tag a person, the usual stuff you see in many, many giveaways. As for choosing the giveaway winners, what we do is we go through that list and we first make a short list. That short list is, of course, people who have followed the rules and done all the necessary steps. And then from that, we pick people who've actually bothered writing nice comments and good comments, because it shows that you've actually taken the time and are interested in what's going on and not just randomly commenting on every contest you come upon. And then what we do is that we run that shortlist through a randomizer. So we pay attention to everything. We kind of pay attention to the effort you've put into in writing a comment. And then we run it through a randomizer. And then from that randomizer, we don't take those as a given as well, because there are some dodgy people out there too. So if the randomizer picks a name, we do check that account to make sure it's not a dodgy account, to make sure it's genuine. And all of this we have to do because the studios need to know the people we picked as to track if anyone is going to pirate this movie and record this movie. This is a real problem, mind you, because Malaysia is one of the earliest suppliers of cinema copy movies on torrents. How do we know this? Because a lot of those movies you download have Malay Chinese subtitles as well. And that can only come from one country. So we go through all of these steps to make sure that the winners are legit. So if you do take part from your account. Don't just take part from an account that only takes part in contests, because that's an automatic rejection. We're just not even bothering to look at you, right? So if you're a genuine person, if we can tell that you're a real account, that you're not a pirate, then you have a good chance of being in the legitimate contest and winning something.
I think it's important to mention as well, the reason that we don't like giving tickets to accounts that are essentially competition farms is because we want to create and curate our followers. We want to build a community where people can talk with each other on our posts, right? So if you're just following us to win tickets to a movie, then that account brings no value to Goggler's community.
Correct.
So I think that is why that is important, because I understand the reasoning behind it. Some people will have a secondary Instagram account just so they can take part in competitions by Guardian or the Star newspaper or the Coca-Cola or whatever, because they want to keep their feed clean. And that's fine. That's okay. We don't want those people because we want our community to be thriving and healthy and, creating conversations within it. So that's kind of why we did that.
Those people actually have a genuine addiction. All they want to do is take part in contests and win stuff.
I mean, I'm not here to judge, man. 2026 is the year of the grace for Bahir. So, it's fine. You do whatever you want, man. But
You do you.
You do you. We just don't like those people on our message boards, essentially.
Correct.
At Travesty asks, and this is a biggie, with the recent acquisition of WB by Netflix, my question is in 3 parts. 1, is this a good deal for WB? 2, would the takeover by Paramount be a better one? And 3, what are your predictions on the future of cinema and content should Netflix's purchase of WB go through? So we'll take it one by one.
First of all, it's not a done deal.
It's not a done deal.
Everything is still up in the air. Of course, Netflix are releasing press statements as if it's a done deal, because that's the PR game they need to play.
But I think this is important. The acquisition has been accepted, but the purchase hasn't been approved. So that's 2 different things. Yes.
And we're saying it's not a done deal because there's a lot of stuff in play. Like the Ellisons and Paramount have not given up, and now they're going to take them to court. So that's going to be a long, stretched out process. And even if they fail at that, and even if Netflix succeeds in the acquisition, there's also the added layer of the US government, antitrust, all of these steps that they actually have to go through before this deal is done. And that is an uphill battle because Netflix, being the number 1 streamer in the world, is acquiring HBO Max, which is the number 3 streamer in the world. It's not even about the studio. It's about the streaming thing, because it's very apparent that that is the future and that is all there is. And then suddenly they have what is genuinely a monopoly. And so that's going to be the biggest hurdle for them. And so those are the problems. But say it goes through.
Is this a good deal for WB?
I actually haven't asked your opinion on this, Bhai. We've had a lot of chats about it, but I haven't asked your opinion on question number 1, which is, do you think this is a good deal for WB?
I think we both know where the other person stands. I think on this one, we're actually standing on opposite sides.
Are we?
Yeah, because I think the Netflix purchase of WB is a better deal than the Paramount purchase of WB.
Actually, hold on.
Oh, you've changed? You flipped? Because you used to lean Paramount.
No. So here's where I stand on this.
Okay.
I think neither is good for WB.
Oh, no. Confirm. Absolutely.
I think it's just good for shareholders who want to make money.
Oh, yeah. I mean, for me, the ideal option is WB stands on its own.
Correct.
I'm a big fan of the Warner Brothers studio and its history.
Agreed.
Okay, so that we're both agreed on.
Yes.
Whether the purchase itself is a good deal, I think I lean Netflix.
Right.
Yeah.
I lean Paramount.
Yes.
If it has to be sold.
Right. Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yes. So is it a good deal for the WB? Nope, neither are. However, why do you lean Netflix? And then I'll tell you why I lean Paramount.
I lean Netflix, and the problem is because I don't like the Ellisons. I don't trust the Ellisons as people. It's not a Paramount problem. It's a Paramount owned by the Ellisons problem. I think those guys are, I think it's been proven time and time again that they are very much Trump guys. David's the son, right? Larry is the father.
Yes.
Yeah. Larry Ellison is definitely Republican leaning. He has pushed for anti-woke content. He has pushed for
blacklisting people who support Gaza.
That kind of stuff. So my distaste for the Paramount brand is because I don't like the Ellisons.
Right.
I think Netflix, for all the scary bits of Netflix, which is the potential of taking down the cinematic window, all that stuff, I think those are things that Netflix can overcome and can change easily if they wanted to.
I agree with that. I have a similar distaste for Paramount. My only concern is where cinema is, and I think Paramount will not sacrifice theatrical exhibition. And I think that's important, especially for a studio like Warner Brothers. Like, I'm not nostalgic or sentimental about it. I just think there need to be standard bearers when it comes to theatrical and cinema, and they need to be big enough so that it doesn't die. As for who is the better purchaser from a business point of view, 100% Netflix. Because whether you love them or hate them, with regard to the content they put out into the world, Netflix is potentially the best run business in Hollywood.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they are an incredibly well run company, and they know what they're doing. They are so hyper focused in their message and what they're doing. It's something no other studio has in Hollywood. And so, in that sense, people like Ted Sarandos really knows what he's doing. Recently, he said something that had me change my mind a little, because at first he just said, "Oh yes, yes, we will stick to what Warner Brothers is doing already, and we will keep these 45-day windows and so on and so forth." But there wasn't a reason as to why, because it kind of contradicted everything else he had said about cinema in the past. Recently, however, he did say, "Why would I want to leave that money on the table?" And he said he wants to compete. If he's buying Warner Brothers, he wants to compete in the theatrical space as well. And I'm like, okay, that is a real justification, because yes, you will be leaving billions on the table if you pull Superman and Sinners and all of these movies and shove them straight onto streaming just 2 weeks after release. I mean, Avatar is a great example, right? It's been in cinemas now for well over a month, and it's slowly climbing up the charts towards $1.5 billion because it needs that time.
I actually think the interesting thing is, if the deal goes through, I think Netflix will then consider leveraging off of WB's international distribution market.
You would be crazy not to, because WB have these mechanisms set up all over the world.
Long standing since forever, right?
Yeah.
So if it happens, I can see someone like Ryan Johnson saying, hey, release it under the Netflix banner, but let WB distribution distribute it globally. You don't have to bother your Netflix people on it. So, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Ted Sarandos has talked back, not talked back, but Netflix have broken every promise they've made since their inception. Number one, we will always support password sharing. Stopped. Number two, we will never do sports. Stopped. Number three, we will never do live shows. Stopped. They're walking back all of those promises because they have peaked in terms of just showing normal content.
Live it's the only way to grow, right?
Is the only way left
by
to
creating
grow.
New avenues for people to join. And then, unfortunately, they're falling into that other trap, which every merger in the world falls into, which is, to actually grow some more, we need to merge with someone else.
Because then the Netflix shareholders will see the promise of subscriber growth, because now they've just added HBO Max's subscribers to their own. It's a cheat shortcut. So basically, the long and the short of it is, David Zaslav is the devil's bitch.
He is just doing it for himself. His payout, if this sale goes through, and this is from someone who effectively ran Warner Brothers into the ground, his payout is massive if this thing goes through. And the only reason shareholders are allowing him to get away with it is because they're getting money as well.
Can I just say, I'm a Manchester United fan. And the only reason I bring that up is because my football club has been run poorly by its managers.
For about a decade now, I would say.
For about 15, 12, 20 years, yeah. Now, here's the thing. WB have also been run stupendously bad.
Multiple mergers,
multiple sales, breakups, etc. I'm surprised WB is still around in 2026. If you know the history of that organization's ownership structure and its previous owners, I'm surprised that it has been allowed to survive as long as it has.
Part 3 of Travis D's question, what are our predictions on the future of cinema and content? I don't know. I don't have any long term predictions. I think immediate predictions are that things will change. I'm sure Ted Sarandos, if he acquires WB, if Netflix acquires WB, will hold to some of those theatrical windows, but I think they will make decisions on which movies hit theatrical. So, for example, I don't think Wuthering Heights will hit theatrical if it was under Netflix. I think it would go straight to streaming. I think he will keep Supergirl and the DC stuff because he knows there's a fan base. I think he will keep Dune theatrical because Villeneuve will probably set the studio on fire if he doesn't, right? And all of that stuff, I think, will be determined on movie size, on box office potential. So I think that will change. And you may not get a chance to see a movie like Send Help on the big screen. And so all of that will get affected for sure.
I think you are partially right. Only because I think that with this going through, I think Ted Sarandos is going to realize that Netflix is not as big a name as he thinks it is. So, for example, if Sand Help was a WB/Netflix picture, I don't think Sam Raimi is going to allow that film to show up on Netflix. I think Sam Raimi will just go, "Fuck you, I'll go to Paramount. Fuck you, I'll go to Sony. Fuck you, I'll go to Amazon because Amazon will give me a theatrical release."
You know, that's the thing, right? Amazon, by the way, Prime Video, Amazon are the only streamer in the world that is prioritizing theatrical releases.
Maybe a film by Dustin Daniel Cretton might end up on a streamer. Maybe something like the Philippou Brothers Talk to Me, a horror from 2022. That might show up direct to Netflix. But I think if you are a director with decent name, I think you can put your foot down and say, look, I want it to be in cinema. The upside is that something like Jay Kelly, something like Ryan Johnson's Knives Out series, they may now be able to go to Ted Sarandos and say, look, you have a global cinematic distribution network already now. It can be a Netflix produced, distributed by Warner Brothers. You have those guys in place now. So maybe there's a chance these films will show up on our shows.
And that's important, right? And we should explain this. The reason, a lot of you have asked us, the reason why a lot of Netflix movies are released in some countries and not in ours, for example, and that global distribution network is important because every country has an established base for these studios, and these studios know how to deal with local authorities and licensing and censorship boards, and it really streamlines the process. So if Netflix wants to release a movie in Malaysia, the Netflix office, the local Netflix office, needs to be rajin in actually doing all of that hard work. Meanwhile, a lot of it has already been, I won't say automated, but it's part of the process for the WBs of the world and the Disneys of the world and the Sonys of the world. And Netflix just don't have those contacts or all of those procedures in place, right?
Yeah.
And so there are real logistical reasons why we don't get Frankenstein in cinemas, but in Australia they do, or even in Singapore, for example. So the global distribution network is very, very important. But also, you know, the future of cinema and content is constantly in flux right now because everyone is changing things up and it's the Wild West out there. And nobody knows what works. So I think we're going through a big era of experimentation. And acquisitions like this really throw a bar into the spokes slough because it suddenly changes things up in a drastic way. And so it'll be interesting to watch. Like, not for 2026, mind you, but like maybe it'll be 2029, 2030 by the time all of this gets done.
Yeah, and I think also the bar that gets thrown in the spokes is not necessarily just for Netflix and Warner Brothers, but also the rest of the industry. The
For
rest
sure.
of the industry
It affects
will now
writers,
have to,
directors, all of the guilds.
and all the other distributing studios, right? That competition now changes because now you have money bags coming into your essentially cinematic playing field. So that becomes a whole other thing now.
And Netflix are the money bags, right? They have the most spend when it comes to acquisition. However, the data also shows something interesting. I think Forbes ran a survey and they speak to filmmakers and people in the industry. And when asked, would you rather get paid a lot of money to put your movie on Netflix or get paid less money and be promised a theatrical release? Everyone goes for the second option. Because filmmakers, at the end of the day, do want to see their movies in cinemas.
Most filmmakers want their content seen and consumed by audiences on the big screen.
On the big screen. Because Netflix, without fail, will give you more eyeballs, no matter what. More people will see your movie.
But I think also, if you take the second option, there's always the third option of opening in cinema and then selling to Netflix, which is the Malaysian playbook.
At Brandon Ho Shengfen asks, so with Sinners nabbing over a record-breaking 16 nominations at the Oscars this year, what are your thoughts about horror films finally getting the recognition they deserve in mainstream? Brandon, we're going to point you to our last episode, our previous episode, where Bahir and I go into great detail over Oscar nominations, horror, mainstream blockbuster movies getting recognition, and all of the stuff you've just asked. So check out episode 752 of the Goggler podcast, and you will find your answers there.
At Kailash Laxman asks, so I've been on a bit of a Quentin Tarantino binge recently. Before watching his older films, I was familiar with more of his popular movies like Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Django Unchained, and of course Pulp Fiction. But of his older movies, I'm now realizing that Reservoir Dogs was criminally underrated and I think is now one of, if not my favorite of his films. Have you guys watched this movie? And what are your thoughts and who was your favorite character? Also, what's your ranking for your favorite Tarantino movies?
Yes, we've seen Reservoir Dogs multiple times. I don't know if it was criminally underrated. It was actually pretty well rated at the time. I think
it's been forgotten.
I think it's been forgotten maybe by the younger generation because it's not necessarily an easy movie to come by. I don't know on what streaming service it's actually on.
I would dare say Jackie Brown is probably his criminally underrated movie.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Jackie Brown is a phenomenal film. My favorite Tarantino film. Here's the thing. My favorite Tarantino film is probably Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just think it is magnificently crafted. I don't like Tarantino as a person. I think he's a bit of a dick. But there is no denying his skills. And Reservoir Dogs was amazing. Like, when Reservoir Dogs came out, it's really fascinating, right? Because Reservoir Dogs, he had done screenplays before, but nobody knew who Tarantino was. First time, debut director. I mean, you see that fucking poster and you're like, this is cool. What is that, right? And I remember watching it, and I was far too young to watch it at the time. But I remember watching it and being absolutely blown away because I had seen nothing like it. And from the dialogue to the climax at the end in that warehouse, all of it is just absolutely amazing. And that soundtrack I had on repeat, just like the way that soundtrack was structured as well, where within the soundtrack, he cuts in all of those clips from the radio shows before the songs start playing. Man, I loved that CD. Like, yeah. Anyway, my favorite character, Michael Madsen in Reservoir Dogs. Actually, I just love Michael Madsen in anything. I think he is a really underrated actor. He's phenomenal. And he's such a greasy fucking asshole. I love him in all these movies.
I think Reservoir Dogs really sort of got me with Harvey Keitel. Keitel's good. I think Chris Penn was fun to watch in that movie because he's essentially Chris Penn, right?
Yeah.
He's that loud, noisy, annoying fucker. And that's Chris Penn, and I think that's kind of the guy he is. But for me, it was Harvey Keitel. When I was younger, it was Tim Roth, because I thought he was fucking cool in that. He's just drips
Tim
cool.
Roth is great. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think as I've grown older, I think in later watches, I'm like, no, Harvey Keitel's the guy, I think.
It's also one of those movies that really cements certain songs in your head. Like Little Green Bag.
Yeah.
I cannot listen to Little Green Bag without thinking of that film.
Yeah.
It's like Joni Mitchell and Love Actually.
Yeah.
Like there are all of these sequences that play in your brain when triggered by a piece of music. And actually Tarantino does that a lot. Like Jackie Brown as well. The soundtrack for Jackie Brown is phenomenal. Yeah. I don't know. I think my least favorite is probably The Hateful Eight. I don't think it's a bad movie. I just think it felt too much like a Tarantino movie. Like, you're watching it and you're like, oh, I know where Tarantino's going with this, and I know how it's going to end, and it's okay lah. But Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglourious Bastards, I think those are my top two. Inglorious Bastard, specifically for the ending. I just think it was incredibly fucking bold to kill Adolf Hitler in your movie. And just a reminder that you are making cinema and a fantasy, and calm the fuck down. You can do whatever you want, right? Yeah. I think that was very, very cool.
Yeah. I didn't see it that way when it first came out.
Right.
The killing of Hitler sort of pulled me out of the movie because I was on board right up to that point when it was just like, wait, what the fuck are you doing? Wait, what the fuck are you doing? And that sort of really kicked me out. But I think subsequently it sort of worked out for me. I think that's kind of my reaction to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood as well, because there's there's a change in storylines there, or rather there's a change in the reality in that film, and I think I needed to be able to accept that before I could enjoy the film. I dare say, and this is my hot take, Reservoir Dogs is a good film, but it is only really a great film because it was released in 1992. In that, he was the first one to do a lot of the things that movie is being remembered for.
Correct.
But if you sit down and watch the film, the story isn't particularly fantastic. It's not The Usual Suspects, which really had a great twist at the end. So Reservoir Dogs feels like it's a fine film, but I remember watching it in the mid 90s and that blew me away then. I'll be honest, not a massive Quentin Tarantino guy. I think you know this about me. I don't hold him in that high of a regard as being a director, mostly because when he's not directing, he's such an asshole that I cannot give him any flowers.
I think there are a lot of times when I can separate the artist from their work. But sometimes it just feels like Tarantino is being mean-spirited for the sake of it.
I don't know if he's being mean-spirited for the sake of it. I think he's being mean-spirited because he thinks he can. The comment with regards to Paul Dano, Matthew Lillard, and Owen Wilson, it's like, why? Where did that come from? What was that necessary?
Not just unnecessary, it was also wrong.
It was also wrong.
It is objectively wrong. But I think, Bahe, this is what happens when you live in Israel.
Yeah.
I think it comes with where your environment is, you know? You are greatly influenced by your environment, and maybe
just become a massive fucking asshole.
Exactly. Spending too much time with Bibi Netanyahu, and it makes you an asshole. Anyway. So those are our thoughts on Quentin Tarantino. All right. Final question for this episode of Ask Us Anything from @Kabir Singh. With Dune 3 conquering IMAX halls this December, what's the verdict on another Dune marathon with quiz and goodies, just like Gogler organized in 2024? Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Oh, 3 Dune movies. What is that, 9 hours?
I'm going to say this out loud. I'm only saying it because I know Umar can edit this if he doesn't want this out there. But is there any way we can get a critical mass of people to prove that they would be up for a marathon so we can then take to the distributor to convince them to do it? Because just to pull the curtain back a bit, as much as we love doing the marathons, it is also us having to convince the distributor that it is worth doing. So it's not just whether or not we want to do it. We always want to do it.
Correct. I agree. I think, however, something like Dune is easier, if only because they probably still have all the DCPs, because it is so new and recent. When we did our Guardians of the Galaxy marathon, it was harder because Disney didn't have the DCP for Guardians 1 hanging around because it was such a long time ago. Meanwhile, the Dune movies have come out in pretty quick succession, and I'm quite impressed at Denis Villeneuve for pulling that off.
I really thought that there was going to be a pause between 2 and 3.
Same, but December 2026, right, let's go, bring it on. Especially given that he has to work with the schedules of the most popular actors in Hollywood, the most in-demand actors in Hollywood, right? Just Chalamet and Zendaya alone, with the sheer number of movies that they have coming out in 2026 and 2027, I'm amazed he managed to pull it off. But anyway, we want to make it happen. We will definitely try to make it happen. But yes, please make your voices heard and give us the evidence, the ammunition that we can take to the studios and go, listen, there are at least 200 people that will pay money to watch 9 hours of Dune.
Do we do like a Google
What are those online petitions that people ask you to sign when you got a problem with
petition.org?
Anwar doing something?
Yeah.
Oh, petition.org. Okay, let's do
Yeah.
that. So forget the
Should we do
Malaysian
that?
government.
Yeah,
Forget
yeah,
your
yeah.
protest there. Let's do it for a good cause. Let's get you to sign a petition for a June marathon in December.
I'll look that up. Yeah, maybe, because I think, again, the distributors need to be convinced that there is enough people that will come out and spend upwards of 100 ringgit to watch 3 movies back to back, and at which point then you can then convince the cinema to give you a hall for 9 hours, 10 hours straight, or whatever.
Give you
So
that
I think-
IMAX hall for 9 hours.
Give you that IMAX hall for 9 hours, 10 hours straight. Yeah. So I'll look up, maybe a change.org petition is what we need to do.
Yeah. Meanwhile, people in Minneapolis are signing change.org petitions to get rid of ICE, and here we are going, you want 9-hour Dune marathon?
Yeah.
It's a real fucking first world problem lah.
It's not, I don't even know if it's a first world problem. This is just a silly 2026 problem.
Bangsa issue lah, bangsa issue.
Bangsa issue lah, this one. Bangsa issue.
All right. Guys, thank you so much for all of your questions. Keep them coming in. We will be answering them every week on Ask Us Anything. You know where to reach us. We're on Instagram at GogglerMY. You can also email longer questions to us if you have it on podcast@goggler.my, or send us a WhatsApp on the Goggler hotline 012-524-5208. Thank you so much for listening. This is the Goggler Podcast.